you tell the folks that this will be going out to a little about yourself, your background in theater, and whatever else you'd like to point out.
Well, I basically started out in theater in high school. Texas, of course, has this amazing feature called University Interscholastic League. And one of the categories for UIL is one-act play. And I was very fortunate to become involved in that early on in high school. And it basically laid the groundwork for what I knew that I wanted to do. And I feel like it was not as much what I wanted to do, but it was something I was compelled to do. And I think that's part of what being an actor is knowing that there's really not anything else you can do, because if you can do something else, you might strongly consider doing something else, because it's a challenging career, but incredibly rewarding as well. But I left high school, went to college, and majored in theater. Actually, I entered as a vocal performance major in college, and then I transferred my major over to theater after the first year. And then after graduating with a Bachelor of Arts in Theater, I kind of created my own BFA, because in those days, BFA didn't exist really. So I had a major in theater and a minor in music. So I kind of created my own BFA in musical theater as a youngster. But it wasn't official that way. Now it is, thankfully, for other people. But after that, moved to Dallas and worked as a professional actor in Dallas, and actually made my living in the arts for the first 3 years. And then got the call to take a role at New Stage Theater in Jackson, Mississippi, in a production of The Glass Menagerie, and they offered me an equity contract. So equity is our union. That's the actors union, professional actors union. And so I became a member in 1991, I believe, 1991. And I went away and did that show, and then a couple of months later moved to New York, and suddenly was, wow, where am I? What is this? This is brilliant. I love this city, but it's different than it is on TV shows. Living here is so different. So I acclimated and wasn't going anywhere. I stayed in New York and worked and auditioned and did the life. And then moved to Los Angeles for a few years to work for a producer, because I was interested in film and television and how that aspect of our business worked. And then I decided that it was time for graduate school, and that I needed to get my muse back, if you will. And so I applied to the School of Drama at Yale. And in 1997, I received a letter in spring that said, "You've been accepted." And so I joined the School of Drama at Yale in August of 1997, and spent 3 years working on an MFA in acting at Yale. And it changed my life completely. It was 3 of the most incredible, informative, inspiring years of my entire life. And I will forever be grateful for that. So after that 3 years, in May or April of 2000, which was my graduation date, I had been invited to come and audition for a play in New York, a new off-Broadway play called Tabletop, while still a student at Yale. And so as it turns out, I was cast. And the minute we graduated, in fact, I had already started rehearsals in New York during graduation, so I was back and forth on the train from New Haven to New York City and rehearsing, and then moved to New York instantly on graduation, back to New York, and started working. That show was, we were so lucky, it was a huge hit, and we were moved to a commercial off-Broadway run. And then, let me see if I can do that. I'm being shamelessly self-promoting, but also won a Drama Desk for that show. The Drama Desk Awards were just, this is the first year that they gave out Lalique Crystal for their trophies.
Oh, wow. That's very
it's
nice.
a pen and inkwell. But anyhow, Lily Tomlin put this award in my hand. I will have you know that was pretty intense and pretty exciting. And I don't think I knew what to say, but it was really a thrill. And so that was a great entree into working in New York. And so from that show, I did another play at Joanne Woodward's theater and Paul Newman's theater in Connecticut, in Westport, Connecticut, called Westport Country Playhouse. And then from that show, I moved on to do Mamma Mia on Broadway. I had been auditioning for that for, I guess, about 3 weeks. And they gave me the role of Harry Bright to originate on Broadway, which was fabulous. And so during that show, while we were in rehearsals, 9/11 happened. So we dealt with that, certainly, as best we could, and persevered yet again. I think perseverance is something of a theme for this interview, since we're doing that right now as well. But we did open the show on time, and it became, I think, well, it was a massive hit. Certainly it was a massive hit before we opened, just because of ABBA's music and the history of the show. I think the reputation that the show had garnered in London. But we pushed through, and I know that the audiences who came to see that show were so deeply affected by what had happened at 9/11, during 9/11, and had lost family members and friends. And I know for a fact, after the show, visiting with people, that they would see it several times and would be so happy to have been able to escape a bit and just feel good about something for a minute or two. And so we felt very, very grateful, first of all, to be able to work, but more grateful about being able to assist or help in any kind of small way, and that is, to make someone smile, to make someone feel good. Mamma Mia was certainly nothing if it wasn't family entertainment, and so we were fortunate in that sense. And then after that, I left Mamma Mia to do a new play written by Teresa Rebeck and Alex Gersten Basileros called Omnium Gatherum. And that play was the first play to respond to 9/11, to the actual event itself. It took a while, I think, for any of us to be able to make jokes about 9/11, certainly comics and so on. And then there was that great moment when Robert De Niro was on Saturday Night Live not long after, and I think he broke the bubble. He burst the bubble, and it was suddenly okay in some ways, with taste, to make fun of certain aspects of what 9/11 was, so that we could find a way to heal. And I think the same is happening for us now with this challenge that we face with COVID-19. It is something that we have to accept and move on, and realize that there's probably a new normal being set for us right now, at least for the immediate future, in the next year or two. And so making the best out of what we have, the situation that we have, I think, is the only way to move forward. And I would say this about theater people: we are survivors. And while I have never seen anything like Broadway closing for this amount of time, cities closing down, basically, none of us have. The unknown is what I think makes us curious about what's next, if not a little alarmed, not being sure what's going to happen. But I do think faithfully that we have to realize that as human beings, we've got a purpose. And certainly as artists, we have a purpose, and that purpose is to share the work that we can do in some way, even if it is via Zoom. It is important that we continue to carry that mantle. All of us, not just artists, but everybody in this country, everybody in the world, human beings moving forward, finding our next steps. And I think that's what we're doing. And I have a feeling there'll be a lot of really brilliant plays coming out of this few months that we've been dealing with COVID-19.